got everybody, yeah. Can you do C and D? C and D? Okay. Thank you. All right.
Joel, do you want to give me the message start?
We're live.
We're live.
We're live. Good evening and welcome to our celebration of this Jewish New Year. Welcome to the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship and to this evening's journey into a beautiful part of the roots in this community and into the days of awe in which we are given an opportunity to understand the power of tzedakah, teshuvah, of service, and return to life. Our chalice lighting is today also, or this evening, our festival candle lighting. And so we will begin now. With our booklet. This is the festival of Rosh Hashanah, the New Year's celebration of the birth of the world. The light which God separated from the darkness in the beginning of time has never been dimmed. As a symbol of God's eternal light, we kindle these festival lights. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshatnu b'mitzvotav v'tzivaynu lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov. Blessed art thou, O Lord God, our Creator of the universe, who has sanctified us by thy commandments and hast commanded us to kindle the festival lights.
Light is sown for the righteous, and gladness for the upright in heart.
The sound of the ram.
Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah.
It is like no other sound. It breaks through barriers which imprison the heart.
May my heart and mind be open to what this night and this day ask of me. May I be prepared to speak with my mind and my heart. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Congregation, blessed are you, our God, creator of time and space, who has supported us, protected us, and brought us to this moment. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyimiyanu, v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. These holy days are traditionally called the days of awe. The great Jewish teacher, Abraham Joshua Heschel, said, "Awe is a way of being in rapport with the mystery of all reality." Awe enables us to perceive in the world intimations of the divine, to sense in small things the beginnings of infinite significance, to feel in the rush of the temporal the stillness of the eternal. May our hearts be open to the wonder and the mystery of life.
But the experience of awe is only the beginning. The root of religion is in the question of what to do with the mystery of living. Religion begins with a consciousness that something is asked of us.
May we have the courage to accept the gifts of freedom and responsibility.
All this week, the sound of the shofar will echo as it does here, where it is heard in the heart. It calls a quiet moment from our busy day, where it is heard in the mind. It calls us to pay attention, where it is heard in the spirit. It beseeches us to return to ourselves, to slow down and turn inward, to become one with ourselves.
The spirit of the time is woven around two symbolic books, the Torah and the legendary Book of Life. The legend tells us that on Rosh Hashanah, the new year, our destinies for the year to come are written in the Book of Life by the Angel of Life. During the 10 days following, the Yamim Noraim, the days of awe, the book is kept open so that we have time to think about our destinies, how we might change our destinies. If we then merely try to understand how to take these insights with us into the everyday world, the angel of life must reconsider what was written. The angel must then, because we are no longer slaves to fate, we have taken some control of our own future. And at this last sound of the shofar on the day of Yom Kippur, says the legend, the book of life then is sealed. May it be sealed in happiness.
According to the traditional Rosh Hashanah liturgy, it is decreed in the book of life who are to live and who are to die, who is to be prosperous and who is to be afflicted. But because we have been given the gift of freedom, part of this responsibility falls upon us also.
Our actions may determine whether some wounded human spirits are healed or broken. Our choices may determine whether some children's lives are nurtured or stunted.
The traditional liturgy says that repentance, prayer, and charity can alter the decrees written in the book of life. The word for repentance, teshuvah, also means return. We are called on in these days of awe to return to the best that we know, to turn away from choices which have compromised our integrity.
In the coming years, may our actions be worthy of the miraculous gift of life. Tefillah means mirror as well as prayer. To pray is to seek the truth, to know ourselves, to evaluate what we can do. In the coming year, may we grow in awareness and wisdom.
Tzedakah, the Hebrew word for charity, means righteousness. It is a recognition of the obligation we owe to each other as members of one human family. We are to help other people in the spirit of mutual respect, in a way that enhances their dignity as human beings. Tzedakah is not something we give, it's something we do.
In the coming year, may we grow in loving kindness, which takes shape in works of justice.
Spirit of light. In the twilight of the vanishing year, we lift up our hearts and give thanks for what we have received this year and that which we may receive in the future. In times of trouble, we have been sustained. In times of affliction, we have been comforted. Our lives have been brightened with the happiness of home and loved ones, and with the joys of friendship.
As we give thanks for the joys of life, so too we give thanks and acknowledge its sorrows. Many burdens have been laid upon us. Many tears have furrowed our cheeks. Tender ties have been broken and loved ones lost. And yet we know these things too are part of life, and thus we give thanks. With deep humility, we approach this sacred time. May we listen reverently to its solemn admonition. May we have the will to serve life with singleness of heart, so that as we grow older in years, we may also grow stronger in wisdom, broader in charity, and more steadfast in faith. Hidden from our sights are the events of the future. May we trust and not be afraid. As the doors of the new year are open, may we know health, contentment, and peace. May we lie down each night in peace and awaken the next morning to renewed life and strength. May we know peace and help others to do the same. May the world be protected from hate and war, famine and sorrow. May we curb our own inclinations to do evil, and may we walk in the path of righteousness from this time forth.
The festival of Rosh Hashanah is not mentioned anywhere in the Bible, but in later years the tradition arose that the beginning of the month, Teshira, was the anniversary of creation, the birth of the world. The book of Genesis relates that the human race was created first in a single person. According to the rabbinical tradition, this story is intended to teach each of us that each human life is of infinite value, that saving one human being is like saving an entire world.
In the coming years, may we grow in reverence for life. May our thoughts, our words, and our actions affirm the inherent worth of every human spirit.
We give thanks that we have been called to the service of life. May our eyes be open to its nobility and its sacred opportunities for service. May we have the grace to show forbearance towards those who offend against us. When wrong and injustices sadden our hearts, may we seek shelter in knowledge, truth, and compassion. May no trial, however severe, embitter our souls or harden our hearts. We may cry in the night, but joy comes in the morning. May we work for the day when the world will no longer know injustice and hate, but will only know love, peace, and mercy.
May that day come sooner rather than later. May everyone come to know his or her sacred truths. We ask for ourselves that we may be stronger, so that we can serve ourselves and each other, that we may be part of the merciful and forgiving tides of life. We give thanks that we may serve. For the essence of life that is in each and every one of us, we give thanks. May we know peace, the most precious gift of life. May we be messengers of that peace in our homes, in our places of work and service, in our communities and our country and the world. May our nation be a stronghold of peace and benevolence. May contentment reign within us, health and happiness within our homes. May the bonds of love and friendship be strengthened among all peoples. May love of life be known and shared by all. May we be inscribed in the book of life and know peace. Praise be to those who give peace and joy to their neighbors. Who can say, I am free? I have purified my great heart. There are none on earth. There are none on earth. A new heart I will give, not stone, but one that frees. A new heart I will give, and one may we now forgive, that we may live. I don't have the book with me. I could not find it for this evening. But there's this lovely story I read. It's an old folk tale about the beginning of the days of awe. And within the days of awe, there's this tradition in which Jewish folks, there's a part of the breast beating, and it's kind of a confessional about one's conduct and what it means. One day, the rabbi of a congregation in Eastern Europe, as the story goes, was preparing himself for High Holy Day services and was engaging in this prayer and beating his chest and saying, "I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy." And the head of the congregation, the congregation's council came in, saw the rabbi, and immediately came to his knees next to the bema and began pounding his chest, saying, "I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy." And then the janitor came in and saw the two men praying and said, "What an amazing prayer," and got down on his knees next to them and started beating his chest, saying, "I am not worthy, I am not worthy." And the head of the congregation said to the rabbi, "Look who thinks he's not worthy." In our Universalist heritage, it's long been understood that some of us make prayers to God, or maybe to goddess. Others of us pray perhaps to images or connections that are less specific. Others of us do not pray at all, cannot pray. But no matter what brings us together, our Unitarian Universalism still asks us to pray, but not as a prayer to someone. In Universalism, the greatest prayer we ask is in how we live. It is in being called to service. The work of caring for others is our prayer. And in our litany today, one of the words that was mentioned was tzedakah, this reconnection of the world, changing the world. And this universalist idea of prayer as something we live out in our daily lives. It doesn't matter if you're an atheist or a theist, a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim or from the Hindu tradition, one of the Hindu traditions, or Shinto. We can pray in this tradition and share in it fully and equally. And in fact, there is a concept like this in Judaism called tzedakah. The Hebrew word is usually translated as charity, but according to Rabbi Joseph Telushkin, tzedakah is not charity. The best translation, at least for us Unitarian Universalists, I'm told would be the phrase social justice. But perhaps as a people who so believe in the interconnected web of life in which we all and every being exists, it might be reconnection. In the Jewish faith and way of life, tzedakah is the beginning of a spiritual life. And this has been a significant influence upon our living tradition we call Unitarian Universalism. Even 200 years ago, as Unitarian ministers and Universalist ministers and rabbis began sharing books and having conversations over tea or coffee, we found that our Unitarian Universalist spiritual ancestors were influenced and came to understand that we would be a community of practice, that our deeds would matter. It would not be our beliefs, that is, not our creeds. Rabbi Telushkin, his first words about Judaism are from the Talmud. They are questions that an ancient rabbi said we are asked when we arrive at the gates of heaven. The questions are about how we lived our life. Telushkin pointedly notes that at the gates of heaven, one is not asked if he or she believed in God or even followed all of the rituals precisely. How did you live your life? There was this fabulous New Yorker cartoon many years ago, and I think it was, there was a fellow there who looked very clearly like he had been in many boardrooms and led many large organizations, and he was, like everyone else, arriving at the pearly gates, not clothed in anything. And he was looking up, and there at the throne of God was seated a big, beautiful black woman. And he obviously has just said, "Oh my God, you're a woman, and you're not white." And she's answering in the caption under the cartoon, "Oh honey, that's what they all say." It makes sense that Rabbi Telushkin would say, yeah, we won't be asked at the gates of heaven about what we believed or whether we followed the rituals just so. We'll be asked, did you choose tzedakah, to reconnect, to help others? Indeed, for those of us who imagine this world as an interconnected web of existence, to practice tzedakah is not just to serve others, it is ultimately even to serve ourselves. The first step on the path of tzedakah is that stereotype of charity in the United States, a contribution we give out of duty, out of a sense of this is what we're supposed to do. In the Jewish practice and understanding of tzedakah, this sometimes grudging care for the poor is considered spiritually immature, but still, please do it. Much better to be spiritually immature and give with a gripe than to grow a heart of stone and do nothing at all. Jewish wisdom has always been thinking about what it is to be one who cares for others and one who receives the help of others. There's this fun story about a beggar once who came to the city of Kovno and collected a lot of money from the people there. Pretty soon, the people of the town found out that he was an imposter. He was actually a wealthy man, dressed up as a beggar, collecting money. The city council was outraged. They wanted to make a law banning beggars from the city. But the rabbi of Kovno, Rabbi Spector, heard this and came to the council meeting and said, "Who deceived you? A needy person or a wealthy person? If you want to make a law, it should be to ban wealthy beggars, not needy beggars." As one grows spiritually, Jewish wisdom suggests our practice of tzedakah takes us to the next step, which is to practice charity with a smile and with good feelings. Give until it feels good, writes one rabbi. And why not? Jewish wisdom explains that feeling good about doing social justice, it's only logical. For Unitarian Universalists, it's only logical. In caring for others, we ultimately care for ourselves. And it can feel good to care for others, for those who are struggling. And perhaps there's a little bit of comparison that goes on. Always nice to see someone who's worse off and feel some gratitude that it's not me. There, but for the grace of God go I. But I've come to know that the person pushing the grocery cart It could just as easily be me, or it could just as easily be you. None of us is exempt from suffering or striking turns of fortunes in our lives. There are countless ways for any of us to find ourselves suddenly homeless, struggling, suffering. A colleague of mine once was wearing his flaming chalice around his neck, walking down the street. And a man was on the corner, wrapped in blankets on a cold day. And the man looked up at my colleague, my friend, Mark, and said, "Are you a Hussite?" And my colleague friend stopped. Mark stopped like, "Hussite?" Well, Hussite is actually the name of a theologian who had suggested that the chalice that was used in the Christian tradition for communion ought to be a cup that was shared with everybody. It's a very specific piece of knowledge rooted in Unitarianism specifically, or might be known by somebody who really knows the details of Eastern European history. And my friend Mark said, "Well, yes, in a way, I am a Hussite. I'm a Unitarian Universalist, and our roots are with this man, Jan Hus. And who are you? How do you know this?" And he came to discover that this man huddled on the street had a terrible turn of luck with his health and his fortunes, and had a PhD, indeed, in Eastern European history, and knew a great deal about the history of Judaism in Europe and Unitarian Universalism in Europe. It's a story that's always stuck with me. Jewish wisdom has come to suggest the next step in the spiritual practice of tzedakah is to give anonymously. It's good to give gladly, but it's better to give gladly and not know who is receiving our support, our care, our love, nor do they need to know who we are. That way we avoid contributing to the suffering of a neighbor. This highest level, there's one more high level of tzedakah, one that I learned in reading Jewish theologian Moses Maimonides, who lived about 500 years ago in Spain. The highest level of tzedakah is to help a person by inviting them to live in your home and to teach them a trade, or provide them with the tools and the work by which they can come to make their own living and care for themselves. And this is actually the opposite of anonymous giving. At this closely connected level of tzedakah, one becomes a friend to that person, and your lives are bound together. It is the most difficult level because it requires gemilut chesed. It requires loving kindness. It requires we become fully human and as vulnerable as those we care for. This is the opportunity in the days of awe to remember that the days of awe call us to connect deeply, to become at one. There are those experiences we have of within ourselves that seem to be blocks or stumbling stones, they're sometimes called, to tzedakah, to being truly connected with others in the world around us. And in the ritual of this new year is the tashlich ritual, in which a Jew gathers, it used to be perhaps breadcrumbs, or sometimes it was even gifts. These days, the suggestion from rabbis is perhaps just stones, and to toss them into water. And one of the things that we can do here in the next 10 days is the tashlich ritual. And gather some stones, toss them into moving water. The best water is water that would have fish in it. And understand that the Tashlik ritual is an opportunity to put into the stone, or if you'd like to do the bread, more traditional bread, to put into that, imagine it as a gift in which that which is a stumbling stone or a block within ourselves can become somehow a gift for another. And as we cast out what keeps us from being deeply connected, may we be brought to a world in which all are blessed and all are beloved. This brings us now to the Shema. I invite you to say the transliteration with me. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Let this be the left group, let this be the right group.
Next page. We have been less
Than we could be.
We have kept silence in the face of the justice.
We have spoken ill of others and acted in disharmony.
We have failed at compassion when it was called for.
We have distorted the truth to our own advantage.
May we know mercy for our wrongs of omission and commission.
May the past teach us, but not enslave us.
May all who are broken be healed.
May we have the strength to forgive others.
May we drive hate and oppression from the earth.
May we replace them with love and freedom. May we know a year of serenity and peace. Malkeinu, Chayenu v'ayenu, Imyenu rachmayenu, Chayenu v'anenu, Ki en banu mas asim. Aseh imanu tzedaka v'chesed, Asi imanu tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshi yenu.
May the time not be distant when doubt in the beauty of creation and life shall disappear. We long for the day when corruption and evil shall give way to purity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind. May we all know that we are sisters and brothers, that we are all one in spirit, destined to be united as one.
May our differences be sources of strength in uniting us and not points of weakness and division. May we come to know that the beauty of life is given to us in its diversity.
A year has come, a year has gone. In the history of the world, 1,000 years are as just yesterday. Our own lives are but grains of sand in time, yet though generations come and go, life remains. We are returned to the earth as dust, yet earth endures. Loved ones have passed through the doors of life and have been returned to the earth. All of us must tread this same path, though we know not when our time of parting comes. May we so live so that when the time does come, we shall be ready. Congregation, the departed whom we now remember have entered into the peace of eternity. They still live on earth in the acts of goodness they performed and in the hearts of those who cherish their memory. May the beauty of their lives abide among us as a living benediction.
May peace come to those who mourn. May the bereaved be comforted.
May we use these present days of awe and repentance between now and Yom Kippur to reflect upon who we have been, who we are, and who we hope to be. May we be reawakened to the mystery of creation, of the inexplicable gift of life.
So may it be. Shalom.
Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shebarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah Gedolah. Lashana Tova Umetuka. Lashana Tova. Thank you.
That shofar so good, I mean,
I've never heard anyone do anything but one
yeah.
sound.
There's specific sounds in the Torah. There are supposed to be 9 sounds that open the gates of heaven. And there's arguments over whether, so the tekiah is well known, but is the teruah or the shevarim, are they the same thing? Should it be the short blasts that I was doing, or is it the 3 like that? And eventually over the millennia, you're supposed to have 30 sounds of the shofar. So I was counting as I did it to make sure we hit 30. And did a mix as recommended of tekiah, teruah, tekiah, and then the one tekiah, shevarim, tekiah, and then to get all the way to the 30, the tekiah gedolah, which is the longest one.
Well, we have a feast, right? Back
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
A feast, it needs a couple of prayers and then
We need a couple of prayers to go, yeah.
Prayers to go.
Well, prayers to start.
I have said I am so grateful to be here with you personally. That when I got to theological school in California 35 years ago, longer than that now. I had very close Jewish friends when I've been in high school and college, and had the privilege of many Shabbat dinners and having some experience of fasting on Yom Kippur and of being at Passover Seders and being the youngest male a couple of times and asking the 4 questions. So I got to theological school and just discovered this amazing, wonderful history. And I know I can't read it really anymore, but I took Hebrew in theological school, and this loved me so much. And then in the congregation I helped start in Colorado, we had a minyan, and the Jewish members of Jewish Unitarian Universalists guided me in putting together Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur services and doing seders. And when I left there in 2000, that was the last time I was doing that. So it's really means a lot to me that we're here tonight.
We'll, as we get more organized, and really, this is the first one we've had in 3 years outside of Passover last year. So
We did it on Zoom.
we did it on Zoom, right? So it's nice to, for us, we have to start getting used to being together again. A little more intimate than usual, but
It's a start. It's a new start.
it's a new start.
The right people are here.
The people who are supposed to be here are here, and we welcome everybody else for Yom Kippur. So
We definitely, Yom Kippur on the 4th. We were trying to find the best time that would work for folks, and I'm excited because we have music for the Kol Nidre, which
The what?
Yeah.
all bow is part of the